I did 3 years of a national paper. So I had my own podcast. I traveled America. I was a keynote speaker, vice president of a bar at age 4 to the catering house at age 7, my psychology degree because of the bar, how I ended up as a newspaper publisher and entrepreneur from being a single mom of 4 kids. I've written 5 books. The first one I wrote was The Single Mother's Journey to Wholeness. Hope and help for single mom, getting into public speaking, stepping out.
You've been telling me you want to do a podcast. And then I check back with you in a year and you still haven't done it because you don't have time. You're not techie enough. What am I going to talk about? Well, guess what? I have the perfect thing for you. It's called Podcrafter. It will create title options for you, your cover art, intros, outros, and the best part, it will craft not only bullet points, but it will script each episode for you. It's crazy amazing. And I did it for you to save you time and energy so you can kickstart your podcast and get going within 7 days or less. Click the link in the description to get more information.
Has your life, your dreams been interrupted? Good news. It is possible to reinvent our lives. People are doing it every day, and some are brave enough to share the struggles, disappointments, and challenges. If you are looking for a new beginning, a do-over, or to rediscover your passion, maybe even find a new one, then grab a cup of coffee and let's talk. Interrupted, Act 2, Reinventing Your Legacy, with your host, Coach Laurie.
Nicole Orozco is with me, and oh boy, does she have some stories to tell. First of all, we both wrote books for single parents, so we have that in common. But she is the publisher of the Mill Creek View, and that's in Washington State. Welcome, Nicole.
Yeah, thank you, Laurie, for having me on your show today. I'm so excited.
We always like to start with what you're doing now, what you love, and how you're showing up in your life.
Well, I love creativity. And so I'm a publisher of a paper. I get to do a lot of creative endeavors through that. So that's the Mill Creek View. And I started newspaper publishing about 5 years ago, right after COVID started. So I'm carrying on with that. I am also doing a lot of creativity through Lighthouse Alliance. And that's a legal organization that helps people who can't, like 75% of people cannot afford attorneys. There's a lot of people, including people coming out of domestic violence, that just can't fight. And so they need the help with a paralegal, with therapy, with vocational training, with financial solutions, just on the side, helping where I can with social media and graphic design, things like that. But that does not pay the bills, nor does it help our economy. And ultimately, my goal is to help humanity. I've always had these big, huge dreams. So I partnered with a company called Growth Lock, and I'm helping them get capital. It could be any business from, getting 5,000 to 40 million. And so as I knocked on doors selling advertising for Mill Creek View, I saw that a lot of businesses were lacking capital. So that is my day job right now from home. And then I have some ideas on how to structurally help humanity in other ways with parallel economies and things. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome. And so this podcast is about Interrupted, and you've done so many things. I mean, you worked for a national paper, you had your own podcast, you've been a speaker, you're an author. I'm sure you've had lots of interruptions. Is there any that have really brought you to where you are today?
I think my whole life brought me here today. I was always a seeker of truth. And from the time I was little, I was different. I was that kid that didn't think, and I tried to fit in a box. And that caused me during my 20s, even though I worked hard, I had a real estate license. I was married. I had 4 kids. I still have 4 kids and 5 grandkids, just the hustle. So you get into commission sales, you figure out what's going to sustain you, and you go through your own brokenness. My 20s was about brokenness and about coming to terms with my childhood, like we all go through at different levels. We have wounded parts at different levels. We don't know why life's not working. At different levels, we have these parts that start to show up. So I had divorce, I had single motherhood, and I had addiction in my past, young, in my teens, and then codependency. What happened was I thought I was going nuts. Me and my husband broke up. I had all these kids, mom with a broken hip, didn't know what was going to happen. This was an interruption, big interruption. I literally prayed to God, like, what do I do? Like, I don't even know. And I went to this charter hospital. I said, check me and I'm going insane. They said, you're not insane, you're codependent. So they said, this was my prescription. Go read Melody Beattie's Codependent No More. So I go to my uncle's boat or wherever I go in Huntington Beach, take my 14-year-old son, let him and his friend go on the beach. And I read that book and it was like looking in a mirror. So I had a friend that was getting her master's, I think, in psychology, maybe. And she said, well, why don't you just go get a degree? Well, I'm like, okay. So I went back to school and got my drug and alcohol certification and then went on to get my bachelor's in psychology. So that was first step to growth and a lot of self-reflection and a lot of healing. And that's a life journey that does not stop. Ever.
That's for sure. It's funny that you're the second one to bring Melody Beattie up today. I read her book many, many moons ago. Who knew I was codependent? I thought I had it all figured out.
Yeah, it was a journey, a long journey. And I still have times where I find myself people pleasing or doing things or overworking, a lot of overworking, and having to set boundaries and having to say no and having to learn those skills that for whatever reason were missed.
Isn't it interesting? Even like I heard you say you did the work. We do the work, but those things still kind of come up and bite us every now and then. And we have to do some more work, which is hard, but good, right?
Yeah, it's like a cycle. And I remember being in a life skills class when I was like 30. It was one of my first college courses. And they had this cycle, like a spiral on the cover. And you had to write your life as it was like it's already happened. So right now I'm a billionaire. But anyway, so I wrote my life like it happened. I said, I'm an author. I have a degree in psychology. I've written a book. I'm a keynote speaker. And as if it's already. Now, at that time, I was depressed. I could barely make it to class. I was going through it. It was hard to even be able to imagine myself ever having a college degree, ever writing books, ever achieving any of these things that were in my heart, but they were seeds in my heart. And I wrote it down as if and felt it as if it's already there. And I pulled that book out like 8 years later. I had my psychology degree. I had written a book, achieved all the little goals on the list. That was a turning point.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I love that. It seems like when I kind of look at your history, because a little before you were talking about from childhood on, and how in many ways you were a survivor and you were able to use that. But it seems like with being a publisher, it seems like that there's something about that you're using to speak to help people.
Started that way with COVID, and I went hard on government tyranny, hard. And I thought, because I had that conspiracy mindset from a child, and this is something I've had to work on too. So another layer. I had it implanted in me in so many ways from 11 that there'd be a new world order. There'd be this, there'd be that, the church, all this stuff. And so when I saw this tyranny, what I perceived as tyranny happening, I was like, oh no, I believe everything happens for a reason. So God put me at a church. I ended up talking to my friend and she was on the same page with me. And then I happened to know a newspaper publisher in Canada that was doing a paper. And so I called them and I said, hey, we need this in America. He goes, do you want to run America? Do you want to be the coordinator for America?
Ah, come on. Ask us anything. Well, about podcasting. But we are pretty smart women, so you could ask us anything. I mean, Danny was a digital nomad. Julie Fry is an expert on guesting and getting people on podcasts, especially authors and coaches. Well, there's me. I worked in radio. I've written a book. I raised 3 kids on my own. I'm a grandma. Oh, and I ran a day center for homeless women for several years. I think we might have some answers for you. Maybe. I dare you. Ask us anything. Register below.
Do you want to be the coordinator for America? And I'm like, yeah, what was I doing? Yeah, of course. We did a publication called Druthers, and they get out still like 300, 500,000 copies around Canada right now. We flew. I just got over COVID, and I was doing all the natural stuff. And we flew to Missouri, took 100,000 copies of this paper, literally met all these influencers, some of the top people in the United States of America. And he pulled out and we started the flame. That's still going today. But I realize now that I did my part like a warrior. Now I don't want to feed into the system. Now I don't want to feed into the negativity. I want nothing to do with it. I feel like the more we're focused on the distractions, the less purposeful we could be. And we need to come together. I don't care what party you're in. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what sex you are. As a people, divide and conquer is a strategy, and sucking our attention onto social media, sucking our attention out of purpose, getting us distracted and fighting each other is a negative type of energy. It was needed maybe to wake or break open that realization to a lot of us. Just even in the last month, what happened, and I won't say it, most people know that we had something happen in our country to a person in the last month. It's really easy to get sucked into this happened or that happened or rabbit holes. I'm disengaging, and I'm calling the world to go onto your purpose and be aware. I'm not saying bury your head in the sand. Our focus is being taken away, and that's our life force. That's our energy, our hearts, our beauty, our love. That is what we need to do at this moment in history right now.
Wow, that's so beautiful, because it is a distraction. And like you say, it's not that we don't pay attention, but one thing that I've always said is our job is to love.
Yes.
And connect. And more in all my years, it's never been a problem politically if people were different. And now it's very obvious when people have different parties, they let you know in certain ways. And my joy is when I can talk to anybody, any party, and love them.
And that became very apparent to me on October 7th. What happened was I saw people say things, and I thought Jesus wouldn't have said that. Whether you're Christian, Muslim, I don't care what you are. In my case, I thought Jesus wouldn't have said that. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. He said, what does that mean? Like, break that down. Love your neighbor as yourself. So first you have to have self-love. So it's not just go love your neighbor. It means love yourself. And then, only then, it's like that oxygen mask analogy about giving yourself the oxygen first before the baby. Because if you pass out, you can't give the baby oxygen. So love your neighbor as yourself. So what does it mean to love thyself? What does it mean to know thyself? What does it mean to find your purpose and passion? What does it mean to know where your North Star is and not expect other people to see the same and not judge? What does that look like?
So you've asked yourself some really hard questions.
I go deep fast. And that's why I said I didn't fit in when I tried to fit in.
Are you like one of those who's like small talk is hard because
really
you want to know people?
Yeah, really, really hard, because I'll say something really deep and they just look at me like, what are you talking about? And like, be aware. And I won't claim autism, but I will claim neurodiversity. I will claim that I was in the gifted class as a child and I was always a little different. And I really wanted to fit in. And I did a lot of things to try to be normal and to try to fit in. And you got to own yourself. You've got to be able to say it's this and that. Then you could just be you.
Was there something that brought you to that? Because I know like for a lot of people, it's a process. Some people go, something happened, maybe they had a serious thing in their family. Was there something that kind of made you realize, hey, I may be different, but that's okay?
maybe my granddaughter, who's diagnosed as high functioning autism, and she was super gifted, then studying it and going, gosh, I kind of had some of those traits as a kid. They didn't know what it was. And I think it's just on the spectrum, like they say. We're all on the spectrum. Some people value getting their house clean and making it beautiful. That's a beautiful value. I'm watching Dr. DeMartini, which I think that's his name. He has a values assessment that you could do online. And I did mine, and mine comes out first, spirituality and psychology. Number one value. Number two value would be building businesses. I'm really good at building. Really, really good at building. And I enjoy it. I enjoy that. It's like building a painting for an artist. Number third is my family. When you think the right thing is your family to be number one and not number three, they were close in numbers, but that's not who I am. And to own that and be okay with it, and to say, yeah, I love my family. I do everything for my family. I build businesses for my family. I would bend over backwards. I love humanity. And yet my priority is understanding the human mind and spirituality and where we come from and what the truth is. And that's my driving force. I've always been that person to I'd get a job doing design consulting for furniture or doing houses, and really good at sales. I could do the chit chat. I can. I'd have people, sometimes they would feel my soul and end up crying on the sales floor and telling me their whole life story. We'd be in a conversation for 3 hours. I'd get in trouble. But I'd also, within 3 months, I'd try to stuff my personality into a box. And I knew it was going to come out. I knew it, but I'd try to be like the surface level talk and how's the weather today? And, oh, look at this cute little sweater, and nothing wrong with that. Like, I am not judging that. I wanted to be that. And I'm getting this house. I've been thinking about real estate, and there's land over here. Good. I'm thinking about that too. But I'd get into something way deep and they'd just go, I could see that I shatter people's brains somehow.
Tell us what it is that you really, through all these things you've been through, and it sounds like you've really kind of honed in your belief system. What is it you really want us to know?
You've got to know yourself. You have got to learn to love yourself, and we need to come together as humanity. The only way to do that is, I don't know whether it's think tanks on all sides. I don't know who's going to lead it. But I know that it's about carrying belief, and whatever it takes, wherever you are, whether you're living in a trailer or living on the streets, and then there's a lot of growth that's needed. But you're divine, you're made in God's image. And I don't mean to sound, religious, but every single person we have a blueprint. And there's nobody that could accomplish what we're meant to accomplish. God will use anybody. So if you don't accomplish it, he'll use somebody else. But it's really about carrying the highest vibration that you possibly can, rewiring your mind in every way that you can in order to carry that vibration. So when I walk into a room, I'm confident. Doesn't matter what situation's going on, I'm confident. And that's an authentic confidence now. It wasn't always. They say act as if. But it took a lot of self-worth to get, work and worth to get to that confidence. And now when I walk in a room, I know who I am. It doesn't matter if I'm liked. I'm not trying to please people. I do have to watch and be aware, read the room, but it's still a confidence. And I want people to know that ultimately your purpose is the most important thing on earth. Don't get distracted with the world right now. Don't let it suck you in.
If somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to find you?
millcreekviewus@gmail.com and just email me. You could also go to the Most Sense. That's THEMOSTCENTS @gmail.com. And that's more my financing. If you need a loan or $40 million or $2,000, if you're a business owner or if you're a real estate agent and your client needs a down payment, they can use their business. Contact me there. If you have a story to tell for Mill Creek, contact me at Mill Creek because I always like articles. And if you want to help with Lighthouse Alliance, volunteer for either Mill Creek View or Lighthouse Alliance. I have lots of volunteer positions open right now. You could do digital. Well, I have affiliate opportunities if you want to learn loans, and that's for people, but even students, high school students. I have internships or for college students, and they could be web design for local, for Mill Creek. I have reporters that I need. For Lighthouse Alliance, we need all of it. We need coaches, therapists, we need paralegals, we need attorneys. We need administrative, any type of thing that could help domestic violence, or if you know organizations you want to hook us up with, if you're a connector, it could be anything. Like, use your talents. I've got a place if you have talent. And if they need help in any way, contact me, because I do have resources to help them grow as well. I do have my life coaching and my psychology degree. lhalliance.org. lhalliance.org.
I love it that you're doing that work and that you're helping.
I love it. And so my heart wants to do all the altruistic stuff. And then we've also got to have the practical stuff.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Have a great day, Laurie, and take care.
If you love this podcast, here's a big ask. Will you share with your friends and family, subscribe, give us a review, and a 5-star rating so that others looking to reinvent their lives will be able to get the help they're looking for? Thank you in advance.